What's up, NFL fans? So I'm gonna conclude this segment with the Denver Broncos because they are my team. I did the top 10 teams already for the draft. The Bears are number nine, the pick overall nine, so I skipped them as I already did them for my first video. So go ahead and check that out. But to conclude this segment, I'm gonna talk about the my Denver Broncos, and what I think they should do in this year's NFL draft. Now, this my team needs a lot. They only have about 8 draft picks. They got the 12th overall pick, a 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, and 7. So they don't got a second round pick, which really hurts because, in my opinion, this team needs a lot, a lot. Free agent additions. We added Josh Reynolds. We also added Levi Wallace. We just signed him a couple of days ago. Let me see. Who else? Any other big names that I'm missing? I don't think so. Broncos had no money this offseason, so they really didn't do much. They lost Lloyd Cushenberry. They let go of Russell Wilson. I think Josh Reynolds was our biggest signing. Cody Barton, linebacker, Will Lutz, Adam Troutman, McCollum Roach, safety Brandon Jones. He was probably our best signing on defense because we also lost Justin Simmons, which I don't like, but I understand he wants a lot of money. We have no money. But yeah, that's our biggest two additions is Josh Reynolds and Brandon Jones. And then we just signed Levi Wallace. And I would say Levi Wallace, I bring him in because originally what I thought was my plan A was go after a quarterback. But after the Broncos signed or traded for Zach Wilson, I don't know how likely that's going to happen anymore, trading up for a quarterback. But what I would do is I would still go after quarterback because I don't like Stidham or Zach Wilson. So, for example, if it's Caleb Williams and then for some odd reason the Washington Commanders don't pick Jaden Daniels and they draft like Drake May or J.J. McCarthy, I hope the Broncos trade to the New England Patriots and get Jaden Daniels. Or if that doesn't happen, even if Jaden Daniels does get traded, does get drafted second pick overall, I would like, because the Patriots or the Vikings probably go up before the Broncos as they have more draft capital. So they probably get the next best guy, whether it be Drake May or J.J. McCarthy. And then that would leave the Patriots available. And that just sucks, man, because you can try to go up to 4. And I don't know how the Arizona Cardinals are going to do with that. And we got to give up probably next year's draft picks, too, to go after a guy like J.J. McCarthy or even Drake May, whoever's available at quarterback. And for me, that really sucks because I really want a quarterback, but I don't think we have enough draft capital to go get him, to go get one of these guys. Like, we have to give up a lot, and this team needs a lot. I mean, all it takes is one good quarterback, and your franchise completely changes, and you're all of a sudden in the playoffs every year contending for Super Bowl. But the likelihood of hitting on a quarterback is slim. It's a risk, but I'm willing to take that risk. That's me personally. That'd be my plan. That'd be my plan A. Plan B, yeah, pick 12. You could stay there, but I don't even know the benefits of staying there anymore. You're really not gonna have much. I mean, you could draft an edge rusher. And I think the edge rusher for the Broncos are decent already, so I don't think you would need an edge rusher. A cornerback, if we didn't get Levi Wallace, I wanted a corner for my plan B, but that's totally out the window now. So I think plan B now is you actually have to trade back to about, I don't know, um, from 17 down. Really, that's what I would do. If that does happen, 17 starts off with the Rams. If we're there, Broncos still need defensive linemen. You can go Byron Murphy, defensive line from Texas, or Johnny Newton. Those are the two guys that pop up immediately because that's what the Broncos need. They need defense. And then hopefully with the second round pick, uh, depending how that's, they're probably gonna be late draft picks, but maybe Xavier Legette at receiver because the Broncos are talking about. But they said they don't want to trade Corner Sutton. Then reports later came out saying that the Steelers are calling to trade for Cortland Sutton. So if we lose Corner Sutton, all of a sudden we need a receiver. So we need a quarterback, we need a receiver. Our offensive line is fine. It sucks that we lost Lloyd Cushenberry, but that's what happens when you let go of a quarterback who's horrible and he demanded a lot of money. And I think the cap hit is like 39 million, something like that. About. So we have zero money. Luckily, the Broncos did give PS2 his 5th-year option. Oh man, I would like cornerback still at pick 12. Like that, our corners are set. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think the Broncos are gonna look at Terrion Arnold, Kenyon Mitchell, or this Cooper Dejean, or is it Dejan? I don't think the Broncos are gonna go that route. Plan B, I would go defensive line, address the defense in the second round, go with Xavier Legette. Hopefully, you get a second rounder for your 12th overall pick. It also depends how far in the draft you go because if the Broncos go to about 20 where the Steelers are at, uh, then maybe the best player available according to the mock drafts I'm seeing is like a cornerback. Nate Wiggins. Jared Verse is interesting because several mock drafts that I saw a few days ago had him like top 10. Now he's 23, so I don't want the Broncos to touch that. You got offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. And this is interesting too because Garrett Bowles, this is his last year. So do you draft Taylor Guyton and you trade Sutton and Garrett Bowles? I don't like that at all because I like Garrett Bowles a lot. But if it brings more draft capital and you're kind of rebuilding already, then you gotta have an open eye to it. But I would not trade Garrett Bowles at all. But he only has 1 year left on his contract. So I don't think the Broncos are going to draft offensive tackle. We still have a Mike McGlinchey, something like that. All right tackle. We still have him for like another 3 years. And I think the Broncos will re-sign Garrett Bowles. Hopefully he takes a hometown discount, hopefully. But I know he said previously that he wants to play with the winning team. But he also kind of contradicted himself in saying he wants to play for the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are not going to be winning football games anytime soon, in my opinion. Now you could trade back, depending how far. Also, you could also, because let's see how. I'm trying to think because Broncos could do a lot at pick 12. You could trade it to depending because Broncos are looking at quarterbacks supposedly. The Arizona Cardinals have 2 first-round draft picks. So I could see the Arizona Cardinals moving up to pick 12 where the Broncos are at. And then Broncos probably draft Bo Nix or the dude from Washington, Penix. They could draft one of those guys also, and then they probably get Arizona's second-round pick. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Cardinals have I think like the 37th overall pick in the second round. And there's still some solid receivers there in the second round. I think a guy from Florida, I think the Florida Gators, he'll be available. This mock draft, I do not have the second round, which is weird. But you could go Bo Nix and then the wide receiver, especially if you trade Cortland Sutton. If you don't trade Cortland Sutton and you draft a quarterback, Bo Nix or Michael Penix or whoever it is you're looking at, you could. Jeez, man. Second round's tough. Defensive lineman. Really help that defense out. Help your secondary out. They're not up to par, in my opinion, other than PS2. I saw a linebacker. Broncos need a linebacker, but don't get me started on the linebacker situation. I think Broncos have needed an inside linebacker for 5 years, but they still keep re-signing Alex Singleton. I think they brought in somebody else. I don't know who. But a really fast inside linebacker would be awesome. I was hoping they would go for Patrick Queen, but they didn't. We still stuck with Alex Singleton. And I don't want to hear he has 180 tackles, blah, 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 blah. You're going to have that many tackles because Denver's always behind, and all teams do is run. That's all they do against the Denver Broncos. So no, he's going to have 180 tackles. I think he's slow. I don't like Alex Singleton. Not one bit. Not one bit. So it's a second rounder. I don't have the second rounders on this mock draft on my page. But I'm pretty sure I remember seeing a linebacker going second round. About pick, let's say, from 40 to 33. If I remember correctly, I would draft that linebacker. I don't know his name. But that's what I would do, a quarterback at pick 27. And then linebacker. But if you trade Cortland Sutton, you're all of a sudden, like I said, you're in need of a receiver. And you draft Brian Thomas, depending where you're at in the draft. Brian Thomas, 6'4", I believe he runs a 44.3. So he's a possibility also if you trade Cortland Sutton. And if that happens, maybe you pray Bo Nix falls in the second round, second day, and then you would draft him. But even then, that's really tough. I think plan B is trade back, though, because, like I said, you're not going to, at 12, you're really not going to do nothing if you feel the Denver Broncos. You could draft edge rusher, but I don't think that's going to happen. I apologize. My dog's just going crazy in the background. Offensive tackle is not needed. Defensive line is Byron Murphy a reach when we're at pick 12? Maybe, maybe not. He is a monster from Texas, 6'1", 308. Johnny Newton as well from Illinois. So I could see Denver maybe going a defensive tackle at pick 12. That would be awesome. That would secure our nose tackle, as Denver needs that as well. So they need inside linebacker, they need defensive tackle, corners Levi Wallace, and I'm forgetting our slot corner's name. He did okay last year, the second half of the season, and then struggled about the last month of the season. But our corners are okay. Safeties are good because we did add Brandon Jones, I believe his name is. So I think defense is way better than our offense. But I think trading back is the best thing. Unless if you absolutely love the quarterback that falls here from picks 3 to about, I can't say 5 because Chargers are not going to trade with the Broncos. So I'll say 3, 4, and 6. I mean, the best targets is 3 and 4, obviously, but that's going to be really hard for the Broncos to do. And I think that's really about it. I guess to sum up everything, my plan A would be if your quarterback falls to pick 3 or 4, you trade up and go get him, whoever that quarterback is. I don't know who Sean Payton likes. Me personally, if it was Jaden Daniels, if he falls to 3, I'm doing whatever it takes to go get him. That's just me personally. Broncos like Drake May or JJ McCarthy, then you do whatever it takes to go get him if you feel he is the future. But if not, you don't stay at 12. You need a lot. You trade back to about, like I said, from 17 down. You need defensive line. You can go Byron Murphy. This is plan B, by the way. Byron Murphy. And depending also where, you can also go Brian Thomas if you're at pick like 20, for example. So it depends where the Broncos, who they trade that 12th pick to. I know they're in talks with the Eagles as well. The Eagles are 22nd overall pick. I mean, Nate Wiggins wouldn't be bad either, though. After Levi Wallace leaves, you have two solid corners. That wouldn't be a bad deal as well. I just saw the Kansas City Chiefs dominate the league with two really solid corners. And we're in Patrick Mahomes' division, so two solid corners I would not mind. And like I said earlier, I think Broncos have solid edge rushers. The only issue is they're kind of a little injury prone, which is why some mock drafts have the Broncos selecting an edge rusher. But Nate Wiggins would be interesting, 6'2", 185 from Clemson. And then it also, if you trade all the way back to pick 27, you're obviously probably going to pick quarterback. It'd probably be Bo Nix or Michael Penix. And it's just really hard to say because if the Broncos, this is what makes it really difficult. If the Broncos do trade Courtland Sutton on draft day, whether that be tomorrow or second day or third day, then you obviously have to draft a receiver. They may be looking at Ed McCaffrey's son. I think his name is Luke McCaffrey. Jerry Rice's son, Brandon Rice. They might be looking at him in the later rounds also if you do let go of Courtland Sutton. So maybe you don't have to get a wide receiver in the first round. You can also get like a guy like Xavier Legette, and I believe the guy's from Florida. I don't know his name. You can also draft him in the second round. Oh man, this team needs a lot. That's just my opinion. I don't know if I don't know if you Bronco fans feel the same way, but I don't like where this team is at all right now. They came out with new jersey uniforms. To me, in my opinion, they're mid. I mean, it doesn't affect how they play, obviously, but you obviously want to look cool like the Texans and the Detroit Lions. They came out with some sweet jerseys, but Broncos jerseys are from what they showed in pictures. If their orange is more vibrant and the helmet is actually glossy and like it shines and it's not like the dull blue, then it might be cool. But as of right now, I'm not a fan of it. But anyway, let's get back to the draft. That's what I would do if I were the Broncos. I was kind of everywhere, and it's kind of hard not to be everywhere because I feel this team needs everything except cornerback, and offensive line. I like our offensive line as well. Everybody cries about offensive line, but being about top, I think Broncos were top 12, top 13 offensive line. That's good enough, in my opinion. That's good enough. It's not the best, obviously. It's good enough to get some money lanes. Good enough for your quarterback to sit there and hit an open guy. Now, even if the Broncos do trade Courtland Sutton, you added Josh Reynolds, who's a willing run blocker. So the Broncos might be run heavy, as they should have been last year. But it just depends what they do, really. I wouldn't trade Courtland Sutton because it just makes things very complicated. Very complicated. Because you just a full rebuild mode. At least like this, you have someone to throw the ball to. You have a few guys. You trade Sutton, you're left with Josh Reynolds, Tim Patrick, who hasn't played in like a century. Marvin Mims as well. He's mainly a special team guy. Hopefully he develops into a good receiver, especially a slot receiver, because he is fast. He runs a lot of screens. It's hard to say if he's shifty, if he's agile. So it's hard to say as well with that. That's why I would not trade Courtland Sutton. I've also seen reports maybe Brock Bowers. But if you draft Brock Bowers, you try to trade up in the second round if Bo Nix is there, and you have Brock Bowers and Bo Nix because the best friend for a rookie quarterback is their tight end, and Broncos don't have a tight end either. Greg Dulcich, whatever his name is. Unfortunately, he's hurt a lot as well. So we have no tight end. So Brock Bowers, another possibility at 12. If you don't trade it, that's the only really thing that the Broncos would draft. That's if he falls to the Broncos, which I don't think he will. I think he will land with the Jets. But Jets need offensive linemen too, so they might go with J.C. Latham. But oh man, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Broncos trade back this year, unless their quarterback falls to them, then they'll stay at 12. Because I've also seen plenty of mock drafts where, like for example, Drake May falls all the way down to pick 12. If that happens, that's better for the Denver Broncos, in my opinion. You got the guy you want, you have to trade up for him, and that would be the ultimate goal, obviously, for the Denver Broncos. So that's just kind of hoping and praying for that at this point. I think that's really about it. I was kind of everywhere. I apologize for that. Hopefully, you guys were able to keep up with me. But when I'm talking about my Broncos, my brain just goes everywhere because they need so much, in my opinion. They need so much, and with so little time, it's kind of low-key scary. Because if the Broncos suck this year and next year, then that probably means Sean Payton is out of here. And I really wouldn't blame the Denver Broncos for letting go of Sean Payton if he continues to do horrible. Because this is the second year after 4 years, the team hasn't developed to anything. It's time to cut Sean Payton as well. So you got to look at everything. So this is a scary draft for Sean Payton and George Payton, who I don't like. He overpays everybody, which is why I think the Broncos couldn't go after anybody. We just overpaid everybody. I mean, we overpaid for Randy Gregory, Russell Wilson, two guys who didn't perform at all on the football field, and we overpaid them. And I think we're still paying both of them, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't like George Payton at all, but man, I just have all these things about to say about the Broncos. Like, it's a scary draft for the Broncos. Now, obviously, George Payton and Sean Payton can change it, and they could flip the franchise, and I'll be a fan of George Payton. But as of right now, he's done nothing for this organization for me to like him, other than kill this team. He's overpaying players. Players say they love George Payton. I mean, why wouldn't you? He's overpaying you. You know what I mean? And I think that's why Sean Payton told him, slow down. We still have PS2 to sign next year or after the season's over. Let's save our money because he's our number one priority. So I think hopefully George Payton knows that as well. And that's why they didn't go heavy in the offseason with players. They did a lot of restructuring as well to be able to sign a few players, which is good. I do give George Payton a lot of credit for that. So hopefully the Broncos make take a step forward in tomorrow's draft. Like I said, I apologize. I was everywhere. It might have been a little hard to keep up with, but that's what I would do if I were the Denver Broncos. I guess just to resum it, trade up for your quarterback, and then plan B, you trade back to about, like I said, 17, and then draft, I think, maybe just best player available. And then with the second pick, hopefully Bo Nix falls to you with the second round pick, I mean. And then plan C, you just kind of pray your quarterback falls to you at pick 12. I mean, that's really about it. And then plan D, you probably draft Brock Bowers or I mispronounced his name, but I like him a lot. He's going up in a lot of people's draft boards. Latu, edge from UCLA. So that'd be plan D for the Denver Broncos. I also wouldn't mind if they drafted Byron Murphy, though. I think if you fix your defense first, you're always going to be in games. It'd be a lot easier to plan out it'd be easier. It'd be easier to stay in games because you actually got a defense to shut down the opposing offenses. Now, Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham, whoever the quarterback is, if we don't draft a quarterback this year, I hope Peyton Manning has been saying that. I mean, I've read reports that Peyton Manning has been talking now with Zach Wilson now. So maybe Peyton Manning will teach him something. I don't know. Just hoping for the best. maybe Zach Wilson's career gets resurrected here. He's 24 years old, just like Bo Nix. But the only difference is now is that Zach Wilson is actually a veteran in the league, so so he knows what to expect. Bo Nix really doesn't, so maybe that's why the Broncos traded for Zach Wilson as well. He was horrible with the Jets, but maybe Sean Payton, maybe a different system offense fits him better and he does better. You never know what's going to happen. You absolutely don't know what's going to happen. But I can tell you personally, as of right now, I don't like the move. But from what I just said, a different offense, different environment, a better offensive play caller, it could help Zach Wilson out. He could improve a lot. We just don't know. We just got to hope for the best if we're Denver Bronco fans that happens if we don't draft a quarterback. Or even if we do, no, actually no. Because if we draft a quarterback and Zach Wilson's a beast, and then we just wasted our one of our picks for a quarterback, So that's another kind of an issue as well, because if Zach Wilson is tearing it up in training camp and the OTAs and preseason and he becomes a starter, then we just have, for example, Bo Nix or Michael Penix there on the bench for no reason. So that's another cause for concern. It's not really a concern because you would have your starting quarterback for the future, but it would just suck that you just have one of those guys there. Unless if Broncos could trade him the following year because we got our guy, that's a possibility also. But at that point, both those quarterbacks will be about 25 years old. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. If you guys enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. This video is kind of long and I was kind of everywhere. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully the Broncos take a step forward in the right direction tomorrow in tomorrow's draft. Thanks for watching. Peace. I'm out.